Right, good afternoon, everybody. Can I get some feedback on you're able to see my screen and hopefully you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So just a recap for everybody this morning, we went through overview for the pilot, the expectation for everybody. We took a look at the general public, what things they can see. We talked about certain improvement we're already seeing we need. And then this afternoon, we're just gonna log in and show everyone what logged in people can see, how you can request access, and a few other things. So anyone have any comments or questions before we start? Perfect. And like this morning, if you do have questions or comments, feel free to throw it in chat or just unmute your microphone and start asking. I see we don't have as many people as we were this morning. Just want to confirm on the company side, you guys are still good to go. As long as we have everything recorded, we can continue. All right. So continue the conversation of administrators from this morning. I know someone was asking about how many administrators you can have for the company, and Diane's comment about the PUC suggests you have more than one administrator for the company. And the reason we're suggesting that is if the company admin is on vacation, on sick leave, or just left the company, we want to make sure there's a backup to continue the administrative portion of things for the company. And also they're able to remove the previous administrator or disable their access so that if a administrator leaves the company, they do not go back and do work that they aren't supposed to do. So we suggest 2 administrators per company. And if you only have one, it's okay. The PUC power user can always go in on the back end, remove the previous administrator, and approve access requests for the second administrator. So we're all good there. All right, with that said, I'm going to log in as the account I created earlier. And then once I'm logged in, I'm just gonna walk through how I can register or request access so that I can actually manage someone else's account. So what I do once I logged in is I have the same tab as the general public. What I see here is my stuff. I can request access. When I look at it, this is the same location. I can see how many organizations I'm associated with. So organization, new organization, request. What I'm going to do is make a request. And I'm just going to request into a brand new or an existing organization, or I can create an organization and say I'm the primary person for this. So for this purpose, I'm going to request a brand new organization. Now, for you guys online in this training, if you want to, you can click on this magnifying glass and start looking for Portland General. Or Pacific Power. Or any other organization you belong to. And once you check the box and click on select, you don't need to create a new organization here. All you have to do is say, I'm part of Pacific Power. This is my primary organization, assuming you work for Pacific Power. And my role would be either a filer or administrator. And in this case, what we want to do tomorrow morning, first thing, is having the administrators register and have access. So in this case, Pacific Power administrator needs to register and then submit. Once this request has been submitted, PUC will receive this request and power user will grant this access. And then whoever is an admin for Pacific Power can come in, look at requests, and then approve other requests. There's a chat. Let me just read this real quick. How long do you think it will typically take to set up new organizations and give people filing status? So it really depends on how fast you work and how fast the PUC works. So in this case, I'm just going to say it's not Pacific, it's Chang's electric company. If I request this access, there's going to be a new organization created called Chang's Electric Company. And there's a yes, this is my primary organization and my access role is administrator. As soon as I hit submit, this request is sent over to PUC, and the power user at the PUC will review this request, approve it. So if it takes them an hour to review and approve, I will have access as administrator. Then being the administrator, I will have other access in my dropdown. Then anyone from my company coming in, it's really how fast they can register and they can make that request as a filer, and how fast I can approve them once I have the access. So it really depends on how fast everybody's working. So the second part of the question is, for example, if a law firm is going to file a complaint for a new organization they have not previously represented, can the organization and filing access be set up same day a new complaint is filed? So the short answer is yes, because you're not really setting up a new organization, you're representing an existing organization. So as an example, if you're representing PGE and your law firm hasn't represented PGE in the past, PGE already has an admin. PGE knows who's going to be representing them. So hopefully there's communication between your law firm and PGE so that PGE administrator knows, Marie, your law firm is going to be representing PGE in this docket. So when you submit the request, as I was doing, so when I do the new access request, instead of creating a brand new organization, I can go to Portland General, and Portland General is not going to be my primary organization, and I'm going to request filer role. Or maybe I'm the law firm actually going to be doing administrative tasks for PGE, then I will request admin role. And again, this is assuming, Marie, you already registered with the portal, you already set up your primary organization as your law firm, and then when you come in here, you can just pick PGE and say no to the primary organization. And then once you submit, the PG administrator will see this request and they will approve it or decline it. Now, if you request administrator rights, then the PUC power user will see it and they will either approve it or deny it. So hopefully that answers your question. All right. So as a requester, I am here, I'm requesting access, and the status of my request shows up here. I don't have an organization. I'm creating a brand new organization and I'm requesting administrator access, and it's pending PUC review, right? And I submitted this request on this date at this hour in a minute. So this hopefully, if you're requesting multiple access to multiple organizations because you're a law firm and you're trying to get all this access, this is one place you can see all the access you have to organizations. And if I go over to the back end, I will just kind of go through this real quick. On the PUC side, if I go to all the access requests, I will see chain request the admin rights, and I can see someone else was testing it, so I can speak to that in a little bit. So I can open up this request as a PUC power user, and I can come in here and say, I'm granting this request, and yes, and the request is for admin. I'm approving this admin, and then I can just hit save, And if I log into the portal again, Cheng actually has access to PUC Electric Company. And this new company is created in the PUC system as a company, right? So there are actually two tasks that Cheng was doing. One is creating Cheng's Electric Company as an organization at PUC, but also requesting admin rights for this access. And I know it will take a couple minutes for the portal to catch up. So I'm going to review all the access requests I was sent in today. And I can see a few people has submitted some information here, and there are denies and there are denies. But what I want to see here is Annie was trying to be administrator for PGE, and someone approved the request already as
Yes, I did. And I
Thank you,
sent
Kim.
you a message to let you know that I was trying to get us ahead of the game.
You're the best. Thank you. So I can see Anna Marie are all administrators to their respective companies, organizations. And here is a deny. In most cases, administrators will have access if PUC does not deny them. However, the system also does a automatic deny, and that deny happens if you do not have a primary organization and you're trying to request access to PGE, and you said PGE is not your primary organization. The system actually going to auto deny you just because you do not have a primary organization. So the steps really is you create your account, you register yourself with your primary organization. If that primary organization doesn't exist within the PUC organizations, you create one and become the administrator of that brand new organization. And then once everything's approved and you're an admin or you're a filer for your own organization first, then you can request access to the represented organizations that you're trying to represent. I hope that's clear to follow. All right, no questions or raise hands yet, so that's good. So here, I'm still logged in as me. I'm just going to hit refresh on my screen. And maybe shift refresh. All right, I will click on a different screen and come back. Unfortunately, this screen is not refreshing yet. What we should be seeing is organizations, Cheng's Electric Company, requested role is administrator, granted access role is administrator. And I know it's in effect right now because if I click on my dropdown, I actually have organization access request pending my approval. Because I'm an admin for my own organization, I can actually approve filer status and everything else. And also I see this tab called My Organization, and when I click on it, I can see Cheng's organization showing up under my organizations. I can see my role is administrator, and this is in my primary organization. And if I click on the caret, I can do administrator details. So when you click on this caret, if you see administrator details, that means you're an admin. If you see filer details, that means you're a filer. If you see discovery details, that means you're a discoverer. So if I click on administrator details, I can actually come in and look at the profile of my company and start updating my physical address and maybe a phone number, an email address, and fax. And then my company webpage if I really wanted to, and then save the changes. So as a company administrator or organization administrator, you have all these rights to manage your organization. Now, if I go back to my organization, because I am an administrator, what I will see is all the contacts that's part of my organization. So if we have 6 people here and I said, you know what, one of the person is no longer working for the company and he may be or she may be an administrator, all I have to do is look up the name, click on the caret, remove the contact. And what happens is the system automatically remove this person's relationship to your company, but also to all the related companies this person is representing. So make sure when you're removing a contact, this person no longer works for your company and they're not supposed to be representing any of the other organizations your company is representing. Any questions or comment or clarification needed for removing contact and what's all related to it? All right. I'm going to go back to my access request just to make sure it shows properly. So what it shows is I requested a new company created, and now I do belong to this company. I requested administrator, someone approved, and I have administrator role. So from this point, if I was, not the company administrator, let's assume I'm someone else, I do my access request and I do a request. If I was looking for change electric company, and this is still my primary organization, I want a filer role, I could submit this. And what's going to happen is the system knows someone is submitting something. And if I go to my pending approval in a minute, I should see a brand new organization access request coming through. Well, actually, here it is. So my contact for this organization, so I may be administrator for multiple organizations, although I work for one primary and administrate, 6 represented organizations. I can see, someone is requesting access to one of the company I'm administrator of, and then they are wanting a filer access. So all I have to do is go to the caret, review the request, and then I can approve and assign them a filer. Now, for whatever reason, if the person requesting is requesting the wrong thing, and me being the administrator knows they are not really requesting filer, they're requesting a data requester, I can change it and approve a different security role. As soon as I hit submit, the request falls off my radar. But if I was a requester and I look, I can see I request the organization, I request that filer, it was approved, but the granted access was a data request rather than a filer. So now I know I only can do data requests, I cannot do filer. So if I think the company admin made a mistake, I can make another request for filer, maybe email them and say, please let me be the filer because I can't do my job without the filer role. And looks like we have a question right here. So for PacifiCorp, there are a number of organizations listed. How do we know which one we should use to request access? Great question. So if I was here under organizations, and I put a couple of stars around PacifiCorp for wildcard, and I'm seeing all these organizations created. So the first I want to say is the star. In all cases, these are legacy data. We're moving from our current system into the new system, so you can't ignore all the star. The second thing is I probably want to do a search for active, but in any case, if I was going through and I am seeing PacifiCorp, and I'm seeing DBA, Pacific Power, Learning, Energy, Transmission. My first guess is PacifiCorp means PacifiCorp. And this also would be a question I would ask, I guess, Kim or Mark. If we do end up with multiple PacifiCorp on the search, what's the PacifiCorp name that you are using when filing things at this moment? Is it just PacifiCorp or is it something else, a variant?
During initial filings, we used the whole complete name of the organization. So it would be the, and it's not coming to me right now, but it would be the one below that says PacifiCorp doing business as Pacific Power is what we would use for the documents. And then anything thereafter, we would use Pacific Power.
So there looks like there's a, this is Jennifer. There looks like there's a couple that have DBA Pacific Power. So do we just select one of those? So you have like the DBA with the slashes, then you have them without the slashes, and then there's one with the comma after Pacific Core.
So this is a great question. For ADS, right? For the new platform we're trying to work with, really everybody should belong to one organization as their primary organization, unless they're representing. So when you're trying to register and associate your account with a primary organization, my first thought is really you should have one organization in the PUC database that you see. You shouldn't really see / or doing business as, and these three very similar items with misspell words. So let me look at our internal system real quick. And this may be a matter of the PUC needs to do some data cleaning before we go live. Plus, we need to work with anyone from Pacific Core or any company on this call to make sure you guys are registering with the correct organization in the system so that we don't have multiple organizations that's out there.
Shane, can I say something?
Yes.
So there's the Pacific Power list. A lot of those lists in there are our mini lists that we use to create service lists. So there's several of those lists, and the one we use now, the main one, just says Pacific Core. And there's also the utility company, and you'd have to ask Cheryl about how that one works, the utility company. And that's Pacific Power. If you go look, that puts it in the on the internet as the utility company, if that makes sense, in eDockets.
So I guess to answer this question at this moment, let us do some research on the back end, make sure we find the proper name for you for Pacific Core. And then when you're registering your account, make sure you request to the correct one. Obviously, we can change it on the back end if we do make a mistake for pilot. We can do it manually before go live, hopefully, instead of 3 different Pacific Core doing business as, and then maybe a few other ones out there. We'll only have one that you need to worry about. So I'll make a note.
Have highlighted is the correct one. The one you just had highlighted is that says electric, like that one. That is the official utility contact. The rest of them, like where it says Pacific Core LC66 and all those ones, are lists that we made for service lists.
Correct. I mean, if you see the 2 stars in front, that means it's from a different list. You don't worry about it. But if for Pacific Core, in our current system, Pacific Power is the organization, and I would assume everyone working for Pacific Core or Pacific Power, when you're registering your account, you need to relate your account with Pacific Power as the organization. And then when we go in and look at the organization, we'll see all your contacts, and whoever is trying to manage all the accounts will be managing one, and all the other ones will eventually go away, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yes. So that is the correct one that says electric active, and it'll be that way for PG will be Portland General Electric, and Cascade as well, and all the companies that will have that industry next to them filled out.
Thank you.
All right, so Marie had a question about, we had 2 listed for our organization too. So Marie, who are you with?
Hey, yeah, so we are New Sun Energy. So there was one that was just New Sun Energy, and then there was one with New Sun Energy LLC. It's New Sun is one word, no space.
NUSUN?
No, NEWSUN.
Shane, you'll have to go to list and labels to find the list she's looking for in Biz Apps.
I am. And I do not see you in our organizations at this moment.
Yeah, you'll have to go to just put in the company name. I think if you go back to where it says names or lists. Yes, try list. And then type in New Sun.
Okay, so in this case, this is a list. This is not an organization. So when we migrate our data from current system to ADS, this is not showing up as a organization for Marie to actually relate her company with. So that would be a problem, because this list is never an organization in our current system. So in the new system, this is not an organization. And this organization is not related to the docket we're working with. So I guess to clarify and make sure, you know, Marie, your company is actually part of this whole process. Which docket are you working with? UE 399 or UE 406?
Yeah, 399.
399. So if we're looking at there you are. So what's happening is, at least, so what I can see right now, so Marie, we have a business name for you, but we don't have an organization for you in our current system. The data migration, what should be happening is creating a brand new organization with your business name in our new system, and then you can request access within the organization. And depending on when you start participating in the docket, this information may or may not have been migrated over to our test environment. So what we'll do is we'll manually create your company in the test environment for this week. So you can go in, register yourself, connect, and see how it works. And then for production, we'll make sure everything's working in the production side. And then on the 22nd, if when we are re-registering you for the production side of things, so we can use real data in the pilot, that's when we'll try to reassociate you again with this organization name. So there's some back-end things that we do need to work out before everything will work properly in the pilot itself. But at least for testing purposes, we'll make sure you have everything so you can come into the test environment, play around the portal, make sure you can do everything that you're supposed to do in the portal itself.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And then, of course, answering the second question about admin approval, the way we set up the system, the work process is company or organization administrators has to be approved by PUC. So that's a blanket rule within the system. So it doesn't matter if you had a company administrator or not, as soon as someone is requesting administrative rights, PUC is the only authorized user group who can approve that request. So you may have a company admin, or you may have 3 of them already. The 4th requesting it, PUC has to be the one hitting approve, and then you will have 4 of them. Okay,
Thanks.
you're welcome. So with all that, I am an administrator for my own organization, and I can look at all the access requests I have made in history. And because I made an access request for data requester, I now have an organization discovery request drop down that's showing up. Now, if I go back and create a new request to change the electric company, and request a filer role, and I'm still using this as a primary organization. Now, this description is really something me being a requester can fill in. Maybe it's my justification to be a filer for change the electric company, or maybe it's something else that's needed for approval process. So if I was requesting administrator role, all right, I just saw a note that the host muted me. Where did I drop off?
Jane, I didn't hear you
I didn't-
you muted. I think you're okay.
Yeah, I think you're
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so what I was saying is, if I was submitting a administrator access, this description would be my justification to the PUC why I need to be administrator for change the electric company. If I was a filer, this would be my justification, or maybe a historical record for the company admin to say, yeah, I agree, this needs to be Chang needs to be a filer. Obviously, this is test data. Hopefully, no one will just say, I want it. So again, I'm submitting my request as a filer, and being the organization administrator, I can then come in here, see the description, say, yeah, okay, you're right. I can approve you as a filer. Now, again, I have never said no here yet, but as a company or organization admin, you can deny the request or reject the request by saying no. And once I'm the filer, I will actually have a lot more actions I can do later, like this all actions. I'll have a drop down after I refresh my page. I'm now able to submit actions. Okay. Let me get back to my notes, make sure I talked about everything. All right, so what I want to talk about is all these drop downs, and there are a couple items missing here. So let me log in as a different person to show you guys what I'm talking about. While I'm signing in as another person, you guys can kind of see the multi-factor authentication process that people have to go through. So I'm signing in as a person with confidential access. And what happens is, as soon as I type in my username and password, the system recognizes I have confidential access. So it says, your email is this. Go ahead and send yourself a verification code. So I'm going to send that code. And then I'm going to open up my personal email. And type in my code. And click on verify code. System will verify and give me a message, address verified, you can now continue. So I'll continue. And then on the top right, it shows Ching is logged in after the multi-factor authentication. So any question on multi-factor authentication before we jump on to the next topic? All right. So here, I actually have all access to everything. So I'm going to just go through each one of these and just show you all what it looks like. Every account has a profile. And if I click on my profile, you will see my first name is required, last name is required, email address and phone numbers are required. Everything else is optional. And because this is my profile, I get to choose what information I put in here. This is the same profile I was using or I was showing earlier when I was not associated with an organization. So I can still opt in, opt out, different options, and I can save the update. So this is my profile. If I click on the dropdown, I can see my comments. Or I can just click on comments because it's already showing on my profile. Another way to do it is click on the consumer comments, and then there's a my comments icon on here where you can go look at my comments, or you can now submit a comment. So let's just go through one place. I'll go to my comments. It'll show me all the consumer comments I have created. So even if it's a account just registered with the PUC, not associated with any organization, this will still work for that account. And if I wanted to, I can go to consumer comments, submit a comment, and then submit a comment just in general, not relating to a PUC activity, and just say, I don't like rate increases. So this is for the public to submit any kind of comment. They can click on next. They can submit this comment as they wish. Email lists. So because I'm registered, I have an account, anything I'm registered or I subscribe to. So I'm subscribed to the gas subscription list. So anytime there is a filing associated with the industry gas, I will receive a notification. I'm subscribed to UM 2232. So if anything happened with UM 2232, I will receive a notification. Now from here, I can view details and unsubscribe myself from my subscription list. And then of course, these are all the service lists I'm part of for each of the PC activities or dockets. And of course, company administrators can come in and remove me from any of the service lists that the company actually initiated, or the company is participating in as well. So the organization administrators have a lot of power on adding and removing people from service list. So you don't have to call the PUC to add someone from your group to a service list anymore. The company administrator can do that. If we look at my actions, this is very similar to all actions, except this is all the actions me personally have submitted over the years. So I can sort them through and see if I was looking at LC 79 only, I can see that I submitted the initial action. I submitted the motion for protective order. I submitted a petition to intervene, signatory page. I submitted a public meeting presentation. I submitted agenda items. I submit a whole lot of things for this docket, right? These are all submitted by me and PUC activities, this will give us a list, number one, of all the PUC activities I'm part of. And then here is a list of special access that I had to request because LC 79 is a contested case. Because UE 394 is a contested case, I had to file a petition to intervene to get access to non-confidential and actually participate in the docket. And then I had to file a signature page to allow me to have access to confidential information. So this is where I can see all the confidential, non-confidential access I have for all the contested or hybrid PUC activities that's out there. Confusing? Straightforward? Question or comments? I have one hand set up. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yes. So I had a question about how the confidentiality will work, and I might have gotten confused on the earlier discussion. I thought I heard you say that if you need to sign the signatory page, you would do that by logging in through the portal. Was that
Yes.
correct? Okay. So currently, like Pacific Core, we will file one filing with the filing center that has all of the signature pages for the employees. And we might have like 20 people, we might have, say, 5 people, just depending on who needs to have access for confidential information. Would we need to then have each individual create an account and then go in and log in to submit that information? Is that the new process?
So
Or to submit that signatory page?
yes and no. So
Okay.
let me back up. So when there's a docket, let's say LC 79 is our docket as an instant. PGE is participating in it. You did not initiate it, right? So if PGE is participating in LC 79, what's going to happen is whoever is involved in what you want to do should have registered on the portal and associated themselves with PGE already. So that would be the prerequisite. And what's going to happen is, being the company administrator, when you submit your petition to intervene and you receive that ruling saying, yes, your company can participate in LC 79, being the company admin, you will then go into the service list and start associating all your employees from PGE and associate them and add them into the service list, right? So that service list grants access for PGE employees to participate in this docket. And when you file your signatory page, you file that one signatory page action item. And I think when we do the submission of an action later, I'll kind of talk that through. You file that one signatory page and the PUC will receive that action. We will review the list of 20 names, and then we'll go through a workflow that says, all these people are part of the service list already. We just need to say, these people now have confidential access. So you only need to submit that signature page once. You don't have to have all your 20 employees submitting different ones. However, they all need to be part of PGE to start with. And then the company admin needs to add them all into the service list before the whole signatory page process happens.
Okay. I think I understand, but if you're going to go over that later, then I'll hold my questions until then.
I will make sure we go through the signature page process and talk about the admin process of adding people to service list. So
Okay.
definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So this is my PUC activity. So really here is where you see all permissions and all the PUC activities you're participating in as a filer. All right. And then we have my organization. So depending on your role with your organization, if you're an organization admin like me, I can look at my Ching's law firm and I can click on the drop down and I can actually manage my organization if I have the admin role. If I have the data requester role, I can look at data requests. If I'm a filer, I can look at the filing stuff. If I'm just a subscriber or read only for my own organization, I will see view details only and nothing else. So really, again, depending on your role, you will have different access. And for my role, I am the admin. I'm also the filer, the data requester, and viewer, so I see everything. Now, I'm representing Ching's Telecom. So for Ching's Telecom, I'm only the administrator for Ching's Telecom, and I'm the data requester for the Ching's Telecom. So I do not see the filer or other roles that I see with Ching's law firm. And then lastly, Ching's Not So Good law firm, I'm the administrator of. I can't file, I cannot do discovery, I can't do anything else except for managing who has access or whose role it is for my organization. Okay. So just to take a look, if I go to my admin role, I can modify my address for my organization. Now, organization number and the regulation, these are all done by the power users at the PUC. These cannot be changed, but anything with a box, I can come in here, change my physical address. I can change a main phone number. I can change the email address that people are contacting my organization. I can set up a private website. And I can see how many people are actually representing or are part of my organization. So I can see Charlotte is a reader only, and she's representing my organization. She doesn't have my organization's name as a primary. Jonathan is working for my organization. He's a filer, and here are all my access for it. And then I can see someone else, you know, with a different account is a filer, but their primary organization is not Ching's law firm and a couple other people, and I can see everything. So now if I want to, I can click on here and remove the contact. And once again, removing the contact, Ted will no longer be able to file on behalf of Ching's law firm. And because Ted is, his primary organization is Ching's law firm, if he's representing Ching's law firm, or actually he's representing other organizations because Ching's law firm and let's say PGE has a partnership. As soon as I remove Ted, he will no longer be able to represent PGE because he no longer works for my law firm. So this relationship, if you're removing someone who's working for you and your organization name is their primary organization, when you remove them, all the represented, all the access they have will go away. Their account is still going to be there, but they just won't have all the same access they had before. I hope that's clear. All right. So going back to organizations, if I was looking at filer detail, I can still see my organization information, but as a filer, I don't have access to change anything. So this part is all just out my control. However, I can see all the activities our organization is involved in. I can see all the actions our organization has submitted. Then I can actually open up the activity or open up the action and start looking at all the details. So this is what the filers can do. And because I am a filer and I'm participating in CP 1665, I can actually submit an action into this docket, either by clicking on create here, or I can go to all actions and click on submit, which we'll cover just in a little bit.
Chang, I got a question.
Yes.
Okay, this is Kim.
Hi.
Hi. I'm going through it and I'm approving the admin request rules. And I found one and it's from Michelle, and the organization is for Parsons, Bell, and Latmer. But the description says that another attorney had asked them to sign up as administrator for the firm. Would it be under the firm or would it be under the organization that the attorney is part of? So, and Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, I would think that Vicki Baldwin would be associated with Walmart. And so I don't know if the organization should be Walmart or if it should be under the law firm. That's my question. And I could
So-
show you this if you'd like.
No, I think I got it. So what's happening is Michelle works for a law firm and they're representing Walmart in UE 399, let's say.
Okay.
So what needs to happen is Michelle, number one, has to sign up to our account. And then second, she needs to request access from the law firm to start with, because that law firm is her primary organization. Without a primary organization, the system will not allow you to represent anybody. So first, Michelle either has to sign up as maybe just a read-only person for the law firm itself, because the primary organization and the role of the person doesn't affect how they're representing Walmart, right? So the first thing is Michelle needs to have a primary organization with the law firm, doesn't matter what the role is. Once that primary organization is set, then Michelle can request as not a primary organization to Walmart as a filer, as administrator, and then she can manage Walmart if the administrator access is granted.
Okay, great. So I think that would help her out because I think that this is kind of a little bit complicated. So I think that was good information. So thank you.
Yep. And I think we actually allocated 2 hours tomorrow to work with all the administrators to make sure we have all the weird stuff worked out before you guys go in and actually do real stuff. So if we have time later on today and everyone is eager to get in, we can definitely spend more time today and get everybody set up. Okay, so looks like Michelle said Vicky is associate with multiple companies, including Google, Walmart, Union Pacific. So what's going to happen is Vicky needs to register with her primary organization, hopefully is a law firm or a consulting firm, to start with in the system. And then she can request access to Google, Walmart, and Pacific, etc. on whatever she's representing. And then of course, depending on the docket, she may be representing Google over here and Walmart over there, or something else with Pacific. So Michelle, hopefully that answers your comment in chat. All right. So that's organization. And then of course, we already seeing what access requests do or does. This is a list of all the access requests you have ever made, and if it was approved or denied. And I can see, for Ching's law firm, I requested admin, got admin, request filer, got a filer. I request data requester, got data requester. I requested data requester, but got submit read only. That's okay. And for Ching's Telecom, I submitted a request and they were all approved by the administrator, either by the power users at the PUC or by the administrator of Ching's Telecom. And then of course, the last one, I wanted to be administrator for another organization and it was denied altogether because that's not a real organization. So that concludes everything me related. So the difference between everything above the dashed line and everything below is this is all me. Everything I have access to, everything I did, everything I can see. Organization is everything relating to the organization I'm part of. So this organization access request pending my approval will not show up unless you're organization admin. And doesn't matter if you're an organization admin for 6 different companies or you're just one. All you do is you click open it or click to open this list and you'll see any request coming your way. And of course, if you're actually managing 6 different organizations, what you most likely will need to do is, in order to see all the requests coming your way, you need to go to organizations and then make sure you're on the right organization. And then you can see all the requests coming for your organization. All right, organization actions. This shows all the actions that your organization is doing. So if your organization has submitted actions to different things, you will see all the organization actions. So it's not just you, it's other filers that your organization has identified and all the actions they have submitted. And then organization action requiring amendments. So amendments is a new concept in the new system. We did not have in e-dockets. What happens is if your filing was conditionally accepted, what happens is you actually have a chance to amend your filing with update information. Or you can file a brand new action, try to work around it. But usually if there's a conditional acceptance, our power user will give you a reason. And as long as you go back into the system, amend your filing with the needed information, you can complete, or the PUC will accept your submission. And then data request or discovery request is when you have discovery request access. And here you can see all the discovery requests that you need to respond to. And then on the bottom half is all the organization data requests that went to the PUC that you're waiting for a request. And we actually will dig a little deeper in this, and I'll submit a request and reply to a response or respond to a request in a few more minutes. But I just want to review all these different options on me and my org. And I have a comment in chat. When this system goes fully live, will we need to subscribe to new service list for all dockets we're currently active in, or will those transfer over? So historical data, as in service lists, will be transferred over to the new system. So all existing dockets that has a service list will follow the same service list that we have in the current system. So if you're already part of a service list, you're going to be part of the same service list in the new system. So you do not have to resubscribe. For new dockets, your filer will add you to a service list when there is an initial filing, or your organization administrator will add you if you're participating in a brand new docket, right? So in most cases, service lists will be managed by the company. So if you're just waiting to be added to a service list, you really need to talk to your company administrator or your company filer so they know you need to be added to the service list when the file is first initiated, or when your company is participating in a docket and your company admin really needs to add you. But then again, answering your question is all existing ones will just move over. There's no need for you to reassign yourself to a service list. And because there's a question about registering for service list, what's happening is with this new system, because we do not have the idea of represented organizations in the current system, we do not have that information in the in ADS. So for all the existing dockets coming into the new system, as in UE 399 or UE 406, when you're creating your account or registering with ADS on the portal side, you will not have any represented organization to start with. So if you're representing Walmart, what you need to do is associate yourself with the law firm you work for first, or consulting firm you work for first, and then request access to Walmart as a represented organization, be a filer, discoverer, or administrator. And then once all that access is set, you're set for this, one relationship. In the real world, when we go live, you may be working on multiple dockets, you may be representing multiple organizations, and unfortunately, at this time, the process is you will have to, again, request access and relate yourself to all these represented organizations manually when it happens. It's not ideal. We're still having conversation with our project team and also our vendor trying to figure out if there's a better way of doing it. But at this time, a lot of the relationship are going to be manual. Number one, it's because we just don't have that relationship in our current system. And number two, it's better to do a clean start rather than migrating what we may or may not have and make a mistake. But hopefully, through this pilot process, you guys can tell us what's going to work, what's not going to work. And because we only have 2 dockets, if you just multiply by how many dockets you're going to be working with, is that even a feasible way of doing things, or we need a better way of migrating data? Okay, so with that said, we are done looking at all the different options under my profile. Any questions or comments or concerns? All right, so I think this is the most critical next 3 things is I want to talk about filings, I want to talk about discovery, and I want to talk about public meetings. So as a filer for the organization, under all actions, I can see submit an action. Or if I go to all actions, I'm sorry, not all actions. If I go to all PUC activities and I open up a PUC activity or docket, and I scroll down to the action section, I can have a create. If I click on create or if I click on submit action, they go to the same screen. So I'm just going to click on one. If I click on create under a PUC activity, the system actually knows what PUC activity I was clicking from. It knows and I have to apologize. What happens is the system actually remembers all the actions you're trying to submit from historical if you don't complete a submission. And this is why I'm stuck on this screen. Let me just wrap this up and finish it real quick, and I'll start from scratch. So if I was submitting an action for the pilot purpose, what I suggest is everybody continue to use this, create an action in an existing PUC activity. For go live, we'll probably do more training and we'll talk about how you can create an action and actually create a brand new PUC activity because it's a new rate case or because it's something else. But for the pilot purposes, we're only filing into UE 399 and UE 406. All we're doing is doing this. So when you, and again, unfortunately, I had history on here. It's giving me more process that was halfway through. Let me just click through this and call it good. So when I initiate a brand new submission, the first question I have to answer is which PUC activity. So I'm going to choose UE 399. Or I'm going to choose UE 406. Once it's up here, I click on the box, click on select. The action group, there's multiple action groups. Really depends on what you're trying to do, but most likely you're going to do some kind of filing. And then once you click on filing, the action type is going to be maybe a comment, maybe something else. And if I remember correctly, we also talked about petition to intervene and signatory page. So to start, I could create a motion for protective order or modified protective order. So if I was filing for UE 399, filing, and I'm doing the motion, this is how I'm going to pick it. If I'm going to go through and say, I'm going to submit a,
Chang, can you
Yes.
show them the search feature up above and the wildcard? So they can
Yes.
see how easy it is to search for what they want?
yes. So I know I'm doing filing pleading. I know this is action type. If I click on search, instead of scrolling through all the pages and go to 1, 2, 3, I could just type in petition. And there's only petition to intervene, one of them. If I type in signatory page or sign, signature page shows up. That's only action I need to use. Or if I do motion, I only see a few different motions that I could use. So if you know what you're doing and you don't mind clicking on the second one and go click on petition, you can do this. Or if you just go up to the top and say petition, you can do that as well. Thank you, Kim. All right, so I'm just going to do petition to intervene, and I'm going to next. And again, you don't have to choose petition to intervene. You can choose anything really you want, you find in those actions. And for organization, if I click on the search bar, it's going to autofill to all the organizations I represent, and I have access to file on behalf of them. So if I go to Ching's Law Firm, I'm going to file on behalf of Ching's Law Firm for this. And whatever description I put in here. And then for tags, it's whatever information you want, followed by a comma. So maybe I'll say 2022, and keyword is and then maybe this is, I just need access. And no, I will not want to duplicate this action to other PUC activities. And here is where I can actually upload a file. So if I was uploading a memo or some kind of document for justification, I could click on the drop down and say upload a file. And I can click on add files. And here I can either click on choose, or I can open up my file explorer and look for any file that I have and drag and drop that file under choose files. And then I can add a file. Once the file is added, I can upload the file. And on this screen, I know I added a non-confidential file in here. I can add confidential, highly confidential as well if I want to. I'm going to take a pause right here because there's a chat coming in. So question from Thomas is about notice of intervene rather than petition to intervene. Let me wrap up this filing first, and I'll go back and I'll show you what you have.
I just want to say CUB files, we docket those as a notice, not as a petition to intervene.
Yes,
So
and we do have an option in here. I just want to wrap this up and then show Thomas where that option is. So here is, in most cases, if you file something confidential, you need to file a redacted version of the confidential. So this is just a reminder for organizations. Did you upload a redacted version if you uploaded the confidential? And of course, for me, I only uploaded non-confidential, so this doesn't apply. I'm going to submit. And as soon as I submit, if I go into UE 399 on the public web page, all the information is posted. So this is a huge change for everybody. Is currently when we upload, nothing is published until PUC actually processes the filing from email into our system. In the new world, what's going to happen is as soon as the filer from the company submit, everything is published. if you accidentally submitted confidential information as non-confidential information, it's still published. You will have to contact PUC right away to reject or remove that confidential information. So that's a huge change. And that's a key for companies is when you are submitting, before you hit that submit button, make sure everything's accurate. Is once you hit submit, everything's published. So if I go to my PUC activities and look for UE 399, and scroll down to the action, I will see petition to intervene is already published. And anyone can see the information I submitted, and anyone can see that non-confidential document I uploaded. So if there is a mistake and confidential is uploaded into a non-confidential, the public will see it. And this is very important where you do not submit anything confidential by accident. The question in chat is how many documents can you upload? And I'm thinking you probably are asking how big can the documents be? So we do have a process. We're working with the vendor right now. Hopefully it will be completed before the full pilot process by next week. There is no limit of how many files you can upload at a time. And the file size at this moment in the test environment is limited to 50 megabyte per file. However, the feature we're trying to work with the vendor to implement before pilot is up to 2 gigabytes. So the file size limitation as of today, where it's limited by emails, is no longer going to be a problem for anyone trying to file in the new world. Okay, so I completed my filing. Let's just go back to PUC activity, UE 399. Let's just go through the other way of creating an action. I'm in the docket itself. Here's the detail of UE 399. I'm going to scroll down to create a brand new action. And here, because I'm creating all this from the docket, I do not have to pick the docket name, the docket number, like when I go to submit an action. So this will be the difference. But here, what I want to see is I'm going to go over to the action type and type in notice. There is a notice of intervention. So Thomas, as Cub, when you're filing your notice, you're just filing a notice. You're not really going through the petition and going through the ruling and objection and everything else. You're just going to file this notice of intervention and you're good to go. Will that work?
Yeah, totally. I hadn't seen that when we were going through the list. So, but the bigger point of my question is also just if we have filings that aren't really listed under specific action types, you know, occasionally we make motions or filings that are just really, really new. Is it better that we request that action types get added, or do we want to select like best fit and just submit them?
That's a great question. So we built the system where we can actually at will add an action type as needed. But you know, for everything, there's always a business process and business way of doing things. So I don't want to set the business expectation for AHD. So I guess my answer would be, I would, number one, look through the action groups and see if there's anything fitting. So as far as notices, I will go into notices, and then I will look through all the options under notices to pick the one you want. Or I would go to all the filings and pleadings or appeals, look for anything, and then see if anything fits on what you're trying to do. If you truly cannot find anything, I would say an email to the Administrative Hearings Division or maybe Diane would be in order to say, hey, can we add something that's not there because I can't fit my notice for interveners and none of these fit, right? To start with, I would say a notice is a notice is a notice. If there is no, special ones, maybe it's notice of other filings instead. But again, sometimes we want to be specific, sometimes we want to be general. I'll leave that as a business question. Hopefully Candace and Kim can bring to Diane and they can answer that later.
Yes, I have it down.
Perfect. All right, Thomas, anything else?
No, that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm just going to finish this filing just because if I leave it here, the next time I come into the same area, it's going to pop up again, and I can't really do anything else. So, the difference between submitting an action and going to the PUC activity and creating an action really is the system auto fills the PUC activity if you create the action from the PUC activity. If you just do a submission to a filing, you have to fill in the PUC activity. And then of course, same description, same tag. If I want, I can say, no, I don't want to do anything. I can go next. And I can upload files, or I don't have to upload files. I can just submit. And this is submitted. The next step really is HD support will receive this submission, and they will review and accept the filing or declining the filing. And of course, before HD support goes through all the filing acceptance process, all these are published to the public portal because we want real-time publication of everything posted on the portal. So if I go back to the PUC activity and find UE 399, I will still see the petition to intervene, but if I give a few more minutes, the notice to intervene will show up. I'll have to refresh a couple of times. While we're waiting for that, there's one more question in chat. If multiple documents are uploaded, does the system put them all into one PDF, or will there be multiple documents? Great question. So the new system, let me back up. Historically, with e-dockets, the reason the PUC actually combines all documents into one PDF is because a lot of the companies or the public does not have Word, Excel, or the native file format or program to open up Excel file or Word file. That's why the PUC converts everything and combine them into one PDF file and publish it as one PDF, so everybody has a chance to view all the documents. It creates a complexity where people want to see the native file and actually use an Excel file to do some calculation. So in the new system, what's going to happen is we're still going to continue the conversion and combining of all the native format into one PDF file. Once it's combined, the system will actually publish that one PDF file, and all the native formats are also going to be in the same file location. So if I'm the public and I open up the action and look at the documents under whichever I have access to, I will see all the files that the company has uploaded. I will also see a combined PDF file that's there for me in case I don't have a way to open up native file formats. So the answer is yes, and you'll see multiple of everything. All right. Will confidential documents still be in the zipped encrypted? So the encryption /zipped file was a workaround because our current system could not handle confidential roles for portal users. And the only reason you're emailing a zip file encrypted to the PUC is because we don't have a way to transfer the file without using email. So in the future, and when we are actually using this new system, ADS, the confidential files can be uploaded as is, as long as you're picking the confidential file folder. So if we go back to creating a filing, and let's just say I am filing, and I'm filing a comment, but this comment is confidential. What I can do is, after I answer all the required questions, put in description with confidential comments. At this point, if I upload a confidential document under confidential, and I add a non-confidential document to the non-confidential, and if I have highly confidential, you upload a highly confidential. Then I can submit, or I can say, yes, I did redact the non-confidential document from the confidential document, or maybe they're two separate documents, it's not redacted. Then I can hit submit. And on the portal side, I mean, everybody now has access to the test portal. If you just don't log in, right, and you try to open up the PUC activity UE 399, you will able to see that file submission. But then when you look at it and go into the non-confidential folder, you can read the file. But when you go to the confidential folder, you will not see anything confidential unless we have everything approved within the system. So I guess the short answer is no, you will not need to do zipping and encrypting anymore, because the system actually handles confidential, non-confidential based on roles, security roles, and then the logins of each of the users. So it's all protected. Does that help? All right. I'm just gonna look at this up, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about what the possible reason could be if my actions are not showing up. It looks like I submitted my comment and response, but my notice to intervene did not show up. I'll talk about that later, but if I go view details, I look at all the documents, because I'm logged in, because I have access to this folder. And I think the reason why is UE 399 is a contested case. I have not gone through the petition to intervene, the signature page, and everything else yet. So I do not see the confidential information if I'm just looking at the docket itself. If I was logging into my own actions, I should be able to look at the comment I created. And look at the confidential information I have submitted. So the difference, again, in here is, if I was clicking on this tab right here, looking at the PUC activity, the system is treating me as a general public. And when I'm general public, I don't have confidential access to all the files. I will only see the non-confidential file. If I'm logged in, I go to the actions I have submitted. Because I'm the one submitting the action, I can actually see the confidential information I submitted, right? So that would be the difference between my action and looking at the confidential, non-confidential, versus the general public going to the PUC activity, looking at the confidential information and not seeing it. And of course, if users or contacts on the portal are signed in and they have signatory page and they have access to the confidential information, then they will see this confidential information on their account. I hope everything makes sense. All right. So this is filing, submitting an action, and you can kind of just double check and make sure you see everything. And for UE 399, the way we built the system is whoever created this PUC activity will have full access. They can file into the PUC activity. They can communicate with the PUC. PUC can file actions. Everything will go back and forth without any extra work. Anyone who was not part of this initial application, so Pacific Core initiated this application, so Pacific Core can communicate with PUC, file the actions, PUC can reply, everything can move forward without any issue. Ching's law firm want to intervene, and this is why I filed a petition to intervene. Because I am a third party, I'm not part of the docket yet. Until my petition to intervene has been approved, I cannot file anything else except for a handful of comments or maybe something else. And unfortunately, I don't have the list in front of me to share what can you file unless you've been approved through the petition to intervene process. So the petition to intervene really gets your company or gets Ching's law firm into the docket so I can participate and actually file other actions within this docket. Without this petition to intervene, I can't do 99% of the stuff that a participating party can do. So if you are trying to participate in a brand new docket and for whatever reason, you're just not seeing the filing you're submitting, the actions you're submitting, most likely it's because the type of the docket is contested or it's hybrid, and you have to have a petition to intervene before you can file anything other than petition to intervene or comments, or maybe two more other types. I believe objection might be one of them. So please do keep that in mind, is if you're trying to file into an action, maybe you're trying to file supplemental application, or you're trying to file some public meeting comments, and the system is not showing it on the portal side, and you just don't know why. Most likely it's because you're not on the service list, and your organization did not participate by filing a petition to intervene. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay, so next we want to talk about discovery. So discovery really won't show up on the tab or even on the drop down from your profile unless you have the discovery role. So discovery is different than filing. So you may be able to file, but unless your company says, yeah, you can also do discovery requests and responses, you're not going to see this option. Okay, so when you see this option and you have the access, you click on it. And here is where you can actually respond to anything that was filed by other people. Or you can create a brand new discovery request and ask questions of the PUC, interveners, or other companies. And before I start clicking on making requests or responding to things, there is a question. When filing testimony with multiple witnesses, can we upload separate PDF or one PDF? What's preferred? That actually is a question for the business side. All I'm going to say is for the PUC internal process, we have different witnesses. They submit all their testimony exhibits to the principal of the docket. The principal will combine all these exhibits into one final testimony, and that's a testimony we publish for the public to see. As far as companies and what companies needs to do, I think that's going to be a business decision. Maybe Matt Muldoon or maybe HD will have to make that decision and share that decision with companies. So maybe Kim, could this be something that you bring to Diane and Matt?
Okay,
Perfect.
I'll put it on the list.
And I guess just taking a quick poll from everyone from the companies, what do you prefer? All right, so PUC's decision is final then. Separated by witness, okay. So if we're talking about submitting testimonies separately, you know, if I was creating a testimony and I'm submitting to LC 79, and I'm filing a testimony exhibit. So I guess for the companies, there are a couple things you could do. And obviously I would refer this to the business side to decide the business process, but here is what the technology will look like. So one thing you can do is you can say, I'm submitting one testimony at a time. So whoever is filing will submit that one testimony, go to next, upload the testimony under confidential, non-confidential, whatever you need, submit. And then you rinse and repeat for the next witness testimony, the next one, the next one. So we'll end up with 20 different testimonies if you have 20 witnesses. Or you could go to the non-confidential folder, or actually let's go previous. And instead of just testimony for Ching, we may be doing for Adam, John, Tracy, whoever else. And when you're uploading, you will be actually uploading into the non-confidential folder 4 different witness testimonies as separate files. And of course, the PUC process will leave all the 4 individual testimonies, witness testimonies separately as native format. And then we'll do a combination of all 4 into one PDF file. So if you're filing with Word, Excel, whatever else, all that will be a PDF file. So anyone in the world can download Adobe Acrobat Reader and open it. And all the other 4, if anyone wants to, they can download the separate ones and view them as well. So those are going to be the 2 options. One is to file them separately or file them all in one with multiple files. But then again, I'm going to refer to the business side on the PUC side to make that decision on how we want to receive all that. Does that make sense to Kim or all the people? Perfect. And all the people who made the comment on chat, we all good? All right, discovery. So let's request something first instead of replying back to someone. So I am under LC 79. I'm a data requester. My organization is participating in this PUC activity, and I am on the service list. That's why I can see everything. I can actually do discovery. So I'm going to click on discovery request. And this really should only open up LC 79 because I'm coming from LC 79. I'll have to check with our vendor to try to figure out what's going on. But I'm trying to make a discovery request. And one thing I can do is associate this request to an action that already happened in this PUC activity. So if I had a discovery request, I want to know more about the initial application, or maybe I want to get more information about a testimony or exhibit, I can actually relate this action with the activity or with the discovery request. So when I submit this discovery request, either the PUC or the other company can answer my question without having to ask more questions in the process. In this case, I'm not going to associate it. I'm just going to say I have a general discovery request for this PUC activity. And the requesting organization is my organization. And because I only have discovery role for Ching's law firm, that's the only choice I have. And the responding organization, I'm going to look through and figure out, who I want to hear back from. So if it's Pacificor or if it's someone else's law firm, I'll just need to type in their name here. And this has been a request we already made is this list right here really should be a list of all the participating organizations name rather than all the 5,000 organizations and then you pick the wrong one. So let me make a note here real quick. DR. So in this case, I'm going to ask HIMSS legal service to respond. And here's a description. I could say regarding initial application, I need to know more or anything I want. And then of course, tag is whatever quick search information I would like other people to see as well. And then if I click on next, this is where it's different than what the current PUC process is instead of you just upload a Word document, the new system actually requires one question, one response. So it's easier to search for things. It's easier to organize and looking up historical items. It's easier to identify. So what's going to happen is the new request line item is the question. So what you want to do is say, I'll create a line item. I can tell the PUC if this is confidential or non-confidential. And most questions are going to be non-confidential. So I'm going to just ask a non-confidential question. What's the weather today? And if you guys have a Word template for things like that right now, I would suggest you do copy and paste, right? So copy from your Word template and paste it in here. What's for dinner? And once I have completed all the questions, I can come back and review the question, or I can create a new question that's confidential. So next. Here it's asking, do you want to upload documents to your line item? So what that means is if you're asking a question and you actually have a some kind of evidence or a file that you're referencing and it hasn't been or it has been uploaded in the docket previously, but you already have a file handy and you made some comments in there, this would be a good place where you can just upload a file to your question. And here is where you can say, I guess my document is confidential, although my question may not be, I'll want to make this confidential. So that your file uploaded, if it's confidential, doesn't display for all the other discoverer to see unless they have signed the signatory page and have a confidential access. So right now, everything's non-confidential. I uploaded one file for do you have milk? And then I'm going to submit. And what's going to happen on the back end is your request is recorded. And if we scroll all the way down, we should have a line item somewhere that says you have a request and you're waiting for response. And then you can see the status and you can look through other things. The system might be a few minutes behind, so we'll come back to this and then you can see it. If you receive requests from other companies, it will show up under here, responding. And what you can do is you can look at it and say, all responses is provided, so you don't have to do anything because there are other discoverers in your company who's dealing with all the responses. Or maybe you see something in progress and you know your backup is on vacation, so you may want to come in here and respond to it. Or if it's brand new, you just need to come in here and actually respond. So up here, I can see it's a docket LC79. This is data set 1. And it's from OPUC to Ching's law firm. So this is the numbering or the naming convention for all the discovery requests is it's by set. So the first set will include multiple questions. And then the way for the company or even PUC is responding for each question. So number of questions in this discovery request, there are 3 of them. And the requester is probably the principal, Scott Shear. And there is no associated action, and this is non-confidential. And here I can see it's PUC to Ching's law firm, and the request date was here. The due date was, about 2 months ago. I guess I missed the date, but hopefully for the real stuff, when companies are receiving this discovery request, the discoverers will receive an email notifying them there's a data request coming from the PUC to Ching's law firm, or maybe from PGE to CUB or somewhere else, and there's a request date. So the discoverers will, get that message notification. They'll log into the portal and then find the request and then starting to respond to it. So, we're done with the request. So now we're just looking at the responses. So looks like discovery request 1, data set 1, question 1, the system somehow is showing duplicates. So I'm going to ignore the bottom 3. And for piloting purposes, if you guys see duplicates like what I'm seeing now, please report back. This is one of the very old testing records. This should have been fixed, and you will not see the duplicates. But if I'm responding to it, I'm going to click on the link. I'm going to look at the question. So question is Ching's question 1. There is no uploaded document. And there is no response yet. So I'm going to create that response. And this is my initial response. So what we have is we have an initial response. We have initial response confidential. We have revision. So what happens is if you had an initial response, but then all of a sudden you got more information, you want to revise your initial response, you basically come in here, respond to the same question, and then you do your revision. And then of course there's supplemental responses, and for each one of them, there's confidential and non-confidential. So my initial response is going to be non-confidential. And the question is repeated here. So here's my response. The character count for this string is 2,000. We can definitely increase it to be more than 2,000. But if you think, you need to have a couple pages or maybe, a dozen pages in response and adding data to it, you may want to just have a very quick high-level response here. Click on next. And then you can upload your full response with the 20-page explanation here if you want to. And of course, you can treat it as confidential, non-confidential, or highly confidential. And because I'm not going to have any documents, I'm going to submit. And here is where you can see I'm in progress of responding to this LC79 data request. So from a new, now it's in progress. And I can go back in. And look at the status. Its response is received. So I can start on the second question, or I can go back to the first question. I can see the initial question here. I can see the response I made. And from the looks of it, for whatever reason, I'm, at least on my system, I'm getting duplicates. But again, this is most likely caused because this was an old data request that we haven't cleaned up in the system. That's why I see this duplicate. Again, if in pilot or if in the next few days you're testing this portion out and you're seeing all this, let us know and we'll talk to our vendor on how to fix it. So here we have an initial response. I can actually do a create. I'm going to do supplemental response. I can attach a document or not. And if I go back into this data request or discover request, I can still see responses received, but when I open up the link, I will see there are 2 responses down the bottom. Ignore the duplicates. And we have dates. And we can tell if it has documents or not. So now if I go back to my discovery request for my organization, scroll down to the requests that we have made, I can see today, Ching's Law Firm made a discovery request to Kim's Legal Services, and the response status is new. That means Kim's Legal Services has not replied to any of the questions I have submitted in data request set 3. Ching's Law Firm to Kim's Legal Services.
Did you want me to reply to them?
No, unless you know, our attendees wants to see what response looks like on the request. I don't think you need to do that, but let's take a quick poll. Anybody want to see the response here and see the status change, or are we good? All right, I'm going to assume it's almost late afternoon. Everyone's good with what we have. All right, so the last thing really is public meetings. So before we jump into public meetings, any questions, comments, concerns? Do we need to take a 5-minute break? Because public meeting is really the last thing. If we wrap up early, we wrap up early. All right, we still have everybody, so I'm gonna push this through and then we'll take break after we're all done with this training session. So public meeting, we already saw the archive public meetings and we looked at the public meetings themselves. And what I want to point out is when you look at all the public meetings, these are all the future public meetings. And if you are an organization and you're participating in UE 399, and if UE 399 is coming up to a public meeting that's coming up for August 23rd or September 6th. So let me just pick September 6th and go in there. I can see the detail of the public meeting. I can see the agenda, and I can see consent, regular, or rulemaking. And most likely UE 399 will be part of a regular agenda instead of, any other ones. So I will come over here to submit a public comment action. And this action actually has a couple different things that you can submit. One is a presentation. So presentation are usually PowerPoint presentations or maybe a PDF file that you have already agreed with the principal that you need this file published so that when you are presenting at the public meeting, the file is already reviewed by the commissioner or by the principal. So this is how the companies can upload the presentations to each of the public meeting. So this is very different than how it's done today. So today we actually have a support person managing the agenda items. She actually manually type up everything, upload everything manually. And she is actually receiving emails from companies of these presentations, and then she's manually uploading and publishing it. That all is changing with the new system. So if your organization needs to present at a public meeting, you need to upload this presentation to the public meeting as an action. So when I select public meeting presentation, this is the PowerPoint, PDF, whatever file you need to upload so that the commission is ready to talk about your presentation or when you can present to the commissioners at a public meeting, be it a regular or special public meeting. This public meeting agenda item comment is where a company can make a comment to a public meeting agenda item. So if UE 399 is up for discussion on September 6th, and it's on the agenda, and your company wants to make a comment about UE 399, you would pick public meeting agenda item comment and upload your comment this way. This is different than the consumer comments. Consumer comments are more used for the public, the consumers, or the general, person. This is used when you are a participating party and you want to make that comment. And all this comment and all this presentation are going to be part of the agenda that's published on the web portal. Clear as mud? All clear, we can move on. All right. So in this case, I'm going to pick my public meeting presentation, select it. I can put a description, and this description will be part of the public meeting agenda item. So whatever you put it in this description box will show up on the public portal. Of course, the same tags, easy to search. And if you had any comment, you can do this, but you don't need to worry about this now. And here is where I'm going to be uploading my presentation, be it a PowerPoint or a PDF. And then I can hit submit. This public comment is submitted to LC 79. And of course, if we go to the public meetings, we should see something about on this public meeting with some kind of item on here. And unfortunately, because we don't have an agenda item, we couldn't attach your actions to the agenda item. It's not showing up here right now. But that would be the steps everyone would be using to upload their presentations or comments or anything else officially through the portal. Okay, so that is actually the end of all the show and tells we have planned for you. Any questions, comments, concerns, or any requests, clarifications you want me to go through because I haven't gone through it yet. Or something you're doing today and you didn't see it on how to do it in the future. Is there a cutoff time before a public meeting to submit presentations? So there is. I do not have a timeline in my head right now. I know public meeting agenda items are published 2 weeks ahead of the public meeting. Most of the staff reports are due a week before the public meeting to give our commissioners time to review the memos or the reports. Company presentations, I believe there's a deadline that's around the same time as the staff report. But I believe, due to the limitation of our current system, there's been a lot of last minute presentation. So go ahead.
Okay. Right here on the regular public meeting details, it says to request accommodation, blah, 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 at least 48 hours before the meeting. And I think that is the same for presentations and other things as well.
The description on the webpage is what we want. So perfect. So I will highlight this part, but now let's see. PUC may enter executive session during. So Kim, if you say this at least 48 hours before the meeting is what we want to apply to reports, memos, and presentations, we can do that.
Yes, I'm also going to annotate it down here too, so that we can actually make it clearer. So I'm making a note right now.
Okay.
But yes, that's what I think, but we're going to make sure, and we're going to make that a little bit better if we can.
Okay. Yeah, I just know the reports in discussion of the whole internal process, reports for staff are due a week before the public meeting to allow commissioners a chance to review. If presentations are different, then that's different. That for internal review of the memos and reports, that's a little different than the presentation. So I'll leave that to you, Kim, to answer the question later. All right. Any other questions or comments or anything that you're doing today you couldn't fit into the training today? Let me know, and maybe we can walk through those process. All right. So again, today we use Huddle for discovery. In ADS, what you do is you have a discovery role. You open up organization discovery requests, and you work through all your discovery requests and responses within the same system. You no longer have to worry about Huddle. You no longer need to worry about, is there large enough space to upload my file? The file upload for submitting actions or your filing is up to 2 gigabytes and maybe even more. There's no limitation on how many files you can upload, and there's no limitation on the file type you're uploading. Now, my personal suggestion is you no longer upload a zip file, because if you upload a zip file, people can't just open up the file, and zip file cannot really be converted by using our automated conversion process into PDF. So I would suggest during pilot, everybody upload your files as native format as you can. Do not zip everything together and try to upload it all at once, like how you're doing with Huddle or how you're doing with emails today, just because zip files cannot be converted, and it's a pain for the public to try to open up the file and see what's inside. It's not a very convenient, easy way of using the system. So again, Huddle, for pilot, you should not have to worry about Huddle unless you're working with a different docket and you're trying to do that. All right. So with all that, if no one has questions or comments, I do want to take a real quick poll of everyone who's still here. I know we're working with multiple companies, consultants, law offices on these two dockets. And we do need to know who the administrators are. So tomorrow, when we go through our process, we can set you up as administrators. And then administrators, you need to know who your filers, discovery requesters, or just view-only people are, so that you can work with them to set up all the relationship on your end. So did everybody register on the portal already, or do we need to worry about registration tomorrow?
Oh, so we can go in on the portal now and sign up for it.
Yes, yeah. So this URL I put in chat earlier, I'll put in there again. This is our test environment. So I have to emphasize this is our test environment. When we go into pilot and using the real data stuff, you guys will have to repeat this step again, unfortunately. But for testing purposes and for you guys to get familiar with the UI and trying things out, so we don't make mistakes in the production environment, I think this will help everyone, to get familiar with the system. So yes, if you click on the link I put in chat, and I'm going to sign out on the screen so you can see the steps, and go over to sign in and go to sign up. If you are using your email address and click on sign up and go through the validation, go through the new stuff. And when you create, the system will either create your account or the system will come back and say, whoops, your account is already in use. If your account is already in use, which I suspect for most of you, because we migrate all of your information from our existing system into ADS, what you will have to do is still go into sign in, but then go to forgot my password, and then just use your email to reset your password, and then you can log in. And once you're logged in, you most likely are not related to any organization. That's what we all do tomorrow morning. Does that answer your question? Perfect. All right. So if you don't feel like telling me you're the administrator for your company right now, that's perfect. If you guys can just try and go in and register, make sure your account works and you're logged in, that will help tomorrow to go a little bit faster. So tomorrow, first thing what we're going to do is we are going to make sure everybody who's an administrator can log in. And then we're going to go through the access request process where you request that admin access for your own primary company organization first. Our power users will come in here and approve all these access. And then after the first 2 hours, the next 2 hours is going to be everyone else in your company trying to go in and request all the filing and all the other access. And then, of course, the organization admins will have to approve all those access. All right. So I think we're good to go. And I do want to emphasize again, the link I sent with the test in it, that's what we're doing as of today and this week. The reason is for you guys to go through the process in a test environment. And if we make a mistake, it doesn't matter. And you guys can actually log in and go through all the filing, all the discovery process and play around with it. And then next week, that's when all the real stuff happens. We do have to go through the registration access request again, but because we did it this week, it's going to be a little bit easier next week. And then you guys are really in the production environment, and hopefully you had enough experience in the test that in the production environment, we won't have human errors. We'll make all the system errors and report all these and fix it before we go live. All right. With that, last minute questions, comments, concerns, or things we haven't covered and you're just worried about? Perfect. I will ask to end the recording and publish all the recording onto YouTube. It will be in the same channel as the previous recording that we shared, but those are like hour long and other stuff. What we'll do is post all that, send out a link later this afternoon so you guys can review it tonight if you want, or share with your coworkers if they weren't able to attend. And then tomorrow morning, starting at 8:30, we'll go through the administrators. And then as soon as we're done with administrators, we'll go through all the other people's access. So, we'll try to follow the schedule. 8:30 to 10:30-ish, I believe, are for all the administrators, and then 10 to noon is for all the users. And looks like Marie is asking to be on. Nope. So looks like we're good. And we can end recording and see you guys tomorrow.